Good morning, YouTube. Born to be Wild NE here. And as always, NE stands for Nebraska. Go Big Red, yay Huskers. Heading out north of Lincoln on Interstate 180, which is just a short connector stretch. Gives me an opportunity to go by Memorial Stadium over here on the right. Huskers played there Saturday night. It's going to be another transitional year for my Huskers. Keep hoping we'll get through some transition effectively and come out on the other side. But this is the third year of head coach Mike Riley and his staff. But he pulled some strings off season and hired a new defensive coordinator who brought in a brand new defensive alignment schema. We're going from the 4-3 to the 3-4. Saturday night was our first live game with that schema. And I have to say the defense looked worrisome. So I'm hoping they'll gel and improve through the season. But this next week we have to go at Oregon up in Eugene. And while they had a terrible year for them last year, indications are that, at least on the offensive side of the ball, they're getting closer to Oregon offensive game standards as we've known them for the last 6-8 years or whatever the stretch has been. So it might be a long night or day. I guess it's 4 o'clock Eastern time is the game kickoff time. I think something like that, which would make it 1 o'clock up in the Pacific time zone. Then we also changed our schema on offense. 4-year starting quarterback Tommy Armstrong Jr. graduated, and we now have more of a drop-back passer who isn't quite the run threat. But Saturday night he looked pretty accurate. Good strong arm. The transfer from Tulane. So our offensive playbook has changed significantly. Spread the ball out more. He's a much improved passer over Tommy Armstrong. He's not the running threat that Tommy was. And hopefully he's the competitor that Tommy was, because Tommy Armstrong Jr. Had a great competitive heart, great competitive spirit. And he could have short streaks of great passing, but not a very consistent effect. So I honor him for what he gave the Huskers. We obviously, and he was the best we had. So recruiting, whatever, that's what we had. So now we've got this guy transfer from Tulane. We also have a couple other backups that fit the mold that Mike Riley wants to build. So we shall see. Offense looked okay. A lot of new starters on the offensive line. Most of them have had lots of, decent amount of game action, but not starters. So Saturday afternoon, evening, Central Time, will let us see how they progress. Our opponent this last Saturday night was Arkansas State, who's, just putting out that name, and the uneducated might think, oh, that should be a pushover. And if we were firing on all cylinders and had, our defensive schema working for us with the right personnel stuff, probably wouldn't have been nearly as close as it was. But, they're nothing to sneeze at. They've got some talent on offense, and they have a very talented defensive end, and talented defensive backs, corners, safeties. They've got some speed on their team. They've won their conference. If I remember correct, they've either won or shared the title 6 out of the last 7 years. So, there's so much talent in college football these days that it's spread quite across a lot of number of teams. And other than, you've got just a handful or fewer real premium programs right now. Alabama, Ohio State. You could argue for Clemson, maybe Florida State. Although their resurgence is fairly recent, so they haven't proven themselves with any longevity in this most recent attempt to regain, that premier program status. So we'll have to. I think, in my opinion, the word's out, or the verdict is out on Florida State yet. Some of the old standards make a try at it. Florida, Miami, Florida. Stanford. USC is trying to get back. Oklahoma. I probably missed some off the top of my head. I really didn't study the scores on this weekend. I know there were some interesting outcomes. Maryland went into Austin and beat the Longhorns. Alabama kind of controlled Florida State, but Alabama didn't score a lot of points, so Michigan is trying to get back up there. You can't preclude. They're knocking on the door of getting back to being a premier program year in and year out. And they certainly throttled the Florida Gators, at least from the little I've read. I haven't looked at stats and all that kind of stuff, but anyway, week 1 of college football is almost over. I think there might be a game or two today. The NCAA usually takes advantage of these very early weeks where the NFL is not yet in their regular season and spreads games around on Mondays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and I think there was even 1 or 2 games yesterday on Sunday, so we'll just have to see. Take care, all.